Time community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. How you doing, Tim?
Oh, it's been an interesting week. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I wanted to mention for our listeners, I put up a holiday-themed short story on my blog. So if you're interested in getting into the festive spirit and reading just a short little something fun, the link to my blog is in the description box.
Down in the show notes.
Show notes, that's
there
what it's
go.
called. It's teresajohnstonwrites.wordpress.com, I believe. But whatever, the link is down there. You can find it. Just go to our show notes page. And it's linked in every episode, or almost every episode. So if you're interested, you want to, get a little sample of what I write and have a fun little holiday story, go check it out.
It's fun.
Thanks. So before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in this episode?
Today we'll be discussing chapters 41 and 42, where all of our main characters are reunited. We finally get the skinny on Matt's dagger, and then exposition.
Jordan, exposition? Never.
Let's start with chapter 41, which is called Old Friends and New Threats. And the icon is Maureen's staff.
Here's a quick summary of chapter 41 to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. Rhiann gets back to the Queen's blessing and tells Master Gil and Loyal about his adventure in the palace and his worry about what Elida might do. Gil tells him that he can't wait anymore. He and Matt have to leave before Elida can find him. Gil offers to pay for the local medicine woman to see Matt, and he's willing to give the boys horses to ride to Tar-Valon. Rhiann tells him that he's a good friend, and Gil shrugs it off. Loyal asks again to accompany Rand on his travels because Loyal can practically see the weaves of the pattern forming around his Tavern nature. Rand agrees and says that he'd like the company considering how Matt has been lately. A serving maid pops her head in to inform Master Gil that there are white cloaks in the common room. Gil goes to see what they want and Rand follows but keeps back, not wanting any trouble. The white cloaks are rude as per usual and insult Master Gil. They say that they're looking for dark friends, specifically a boy from the Two Rivers, and Gil yells at them that there are no dark friends at his inn and that everyone there is a good Queen's man. Not able to read the room in an inn called the Queen's Blessing, the under-officer insults Morghese and her, quote, Tar-Valon witch, and suddenly every man in the room was on his feet glaring at the white cloak. Still not noticing anyone else, the white cloak threatens Gil with the dragon fang and possibly burning down his inn. The sound of steel rang through the room as every man drew sword or dagger, and Gil orders the white cloak to leave on the count of 3 before the thrashing starts. The white cloaks keep up their hubris until Gil gets to 3, and then they scamper with the threat of, "This isn't over." The men congratulate themselves on their bravery in driving off the white cloaks, and Gil wonders what more trouble Rand can bring down on them. Right on cue, the serving woman is back, saying that a woman is in the kitchen asking after Rand and Matt by name. Before Gil can stop him, Rand sprints towards the kitchen, sure he knows who it is. Sure enough, it is Moraine, with Lan and the other Two Rivers folk in tow. We get a happy scene of reunion, and Master Gil welcomes Rand's friends to the inn. They ask where Matt is, and Rand tells them that he's sick and in bed. Of course, Nynaeve wants to tend to him immediately, and Moraine tells them all to go while she deals with the rat problem the inn has been having. Perrin and Egwene explain that Moraine had them traipsing all over the city until she suddenly sensed where Rand was and brought them to the Queen's blessing. They ask after Tom, and Rand has to tell them that he was killed. Their mood, already dampened by the news of the Gleeman, really takes a nosedive when they get to Matt, who looks like hell and starts saying hateful, if slightly prophetic, things to all of them. When Moraine joins them, she flips out and jerks Nynaeve away from Matt, telling them all to stay away. Moraine carefully approaches him, and when she tries to touch him, he attacks her with a ruby-hilted dagger. Lan manages to stop Matt and restrain him. Moraine demands to know why they didn't heed her warning about Mordeth, and Rand explains that he didn't know about the dagger until after they were already separated. Moraine explains that the evil of Mashadar would draw all manner of shadow spawn and dark friends to it, so it's a wonder they got as far as they did. Rand explains that there were dark friends and fades and the like all along the way, but they managed to escape them. Lan tells them that the fades are building up their number of Trollocs, and they'll be invading the city soon to get to them. Moraine says that they have to find a way out of Camelin in order to keep another Trolloc war from happening. Emo Perrin strikes again, saying that they only bring pain and suffering wherever they go, and it would be better for everyone if they were dead. Before they can go too far down the path of doom and gloom, Moraine reminds them that Mat still needs to be dealt with. She explains that he has been infected by the evil that killed Shadow Logoth. She hopes that she's not too late, and she will do the best that she can for him.
Lamgun with his cat at the very top of the chapter is just adorable. Like, I love this picture of a big bouncer living on this cat that he saved from being stolen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he did to the thief, but I thought it was really neat that this big, imposing, tough guy is just got a furry little friend.
It's adorable. So I think it's pretty funny that no one believes Rand's story about meeting the daughter heir and the queen.
Right?
The situation is so preposterous that no one buys it at first. In fact, I'm pretty sure Egwene doesn't believe Rand until she meets Elaine herself, and Elaine asks after Rand.
Right, because that goes over well. Rand has this conversation with Loyal, and when he asks Loyal why he wants to travel with Rand, even after knowing what is after the boys, Loyal says, "You are truly Ta'veren, Rand. The pattern weaves itself around you, and you stand in the heart of it." This sparks in Rand a thought of how similar to Elida's foretelling this is. But it got me thinking how Loyal is completely fascinated by the chain of events that seem to really scare everybody else. Like, it makes sense that Rand is scared because it's all happening to him.
Right.
But the others, they're not too thrilled about it either. It's all kind of strange. Loyal is just so drawn by the stories and the possibility of adventure that he's the only one who's looking at all of this out of excitement with not very much fear.
Yeah.
So to sum up the mood of the whole room in one sentence, this was great. Like, 5 white cloaks stood in the middle of the floor, studiously being ignored by the folk at the tables. Like I can just see like a tumbleweed blowing through the scene like at a Western shootout.
Yeah. So talk about complete inability to read the room. The White Cloaks are rude to everybody. Okay, fine. But they walk into an inn called the Queen's Blessing, where the innkeeper is defending his patrons by claiming them to be good Queen's men. And then he thinks it's a good idea to insult Morghese and imply that she deals with dark friends. I mean, it's basic common sense. And I love that even when every man in the room takes an aggressive pose, the White Cloak is still completely clueless.
Yeah, like the officer is like totally like oblivious. The other two are like, maybe we should go. But he's just totally like, yeah. And we see firsthand one of the ways that Rand's Ta'veren nature kind of impacts those around him here. Like, Gil stands up to the White Cloaks in a very aggressive way and remarks to himself later that he didn't think he had it in him. But with Rand there, impossible things tend to happen because he's Ta'veren.
I don't know about that. I mean, it definitely could be Ta'veren twisting. That's a convenient plot device that Jordan uses all the time.
Yes, it is.
But I would like to think that Gil would have stood up to the White Cloaks anyway. With all of the unrest in the city, he's pretty upset already. And he's not about to take anyone saying anything bad about Morghese, who he practically worships. So under these circumstances, I feel like he would have done it even without Rand there. I just feel like Gil is a lot more brave than he gives himself credit for. And we'll see that it comes back later in the series, when many, many books from now. But we'll see his bravery play out. So I don't know. I want to give him the credit to say that he would have done it anyway.
Interesting.
That's just my personal opinion.
I don't think we'll ever know. The reunion scene it's really a nice change of tone. Like, our characters have been running, they've been imprisoned, they've been almost killed several times after they've all split up, and now they're finally together again, well, except for Mat. But it's a true moment of relief for everyone, and at least I feel, including the readers.
Yeah. I love that in the midst of the hugging and greeting each other, Niney was trying to feel Rand's head for fever and like checking him to make sure that he's okay, just like a mom would.
Yeah.
Like at this point in the series, she still feels responsible for the Two Rivers folk, and checking their health is her way of expressing her care and concern for them. And as soon as she hears that Matt is sick, she immediately wants to tend to him. That's just her way.
Yeah, and I love Nynaeve's division of labor here. It's totally awesome. Maureen deals with the rats, and she deals with the sickness.
Yeah.
So they go upstairs, and Rand throws open the door to their room, and there's Matt. And we go from happy and safe to something straight out of a nightmare in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. This scene with Matt is really disturbing, at least for me. What really creeps me out is how much truth Matt speaks. He's right about Perrin, he's right about Egwene, and even Nynaeve. What he says isn't that bad, but it's the dark laughter and tone that he has that just makes my skin crawl as he says it like it has venom.
Yeah, it's super, super creepy. Like, for me, it's what he says to Nynaeve that's the worst of it. Like, that's the part that really sticks out to me and disturbs me the most. We've talked in previous episodes about how Nynaeve has had to set herself apart as wisdom, and she's not used to seeing herself as a sexual being. Like, she's just not had the luxury of seeing herself as a pretty young woman or a viable romantic partner for anyone.
Right.
And then having Matt talk about it in this mocking, creepy way, it feels like he's sexualizing her here. And it's
just a bit.
So wrong. Like, it's revolting that this is coming out of Matt.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, thank you. Mm-mm.
This whole scene is a little strange, actually. Like we see Matt pull the dagger out and try to stab Moraine, and Lan stops him and restrains him.
Right, which is good.
But then we have this exposition conversation while Lan is just holding on to Matt's arm.
Yeah.
It's almost like no one except Lan noticed Matt was trying to kill Moraine. Like maybe they've just seen so much stuff at this point that it doesn't even faze them. They're all concerned about the Trollocs attacking Caemlyn, or maybe they just assume that Lan has it under control. It just feels odd that they're just standing there talking while Lan is restraining Matt from attacking Moraine.
Yeah, it's not realistic at all.
No.
Clunky writing. All right, so Perrin needs to tone it down a little bit. Like, I know that he's a sensitive soul with a tendency toward the broodier parts of life, but the whole "it would be better for everyone if we were dead" thing is just a bit much, even for him. It's like, okay, Perrin, calm down. And then, all right, we get this little interesting tidbit about Matt. And I'm just going to quote. "What's wrong with him?" Egwene asked. And Nynaeve added, "Is it catching? I can still treat him. I don't seem to catch sick, no matter what it is." Okay, so is that true for all channelers? Or is it just because Nynaeve has a talent for healing? Because I don't remember this being mentioned again, but not getting sick is a pretty cool superpower, and I would like that.
Yeah. I don't think it's not really mentioned or covered in the books, except for this little passage here where Nynaeve tells us she hardly ever gets sick. But I would think it's just because she's always been around sickness for so long that her immune system is probably a lot stronger. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it could be some kind of side effect of being able to channel the power. She's able to resist the diseases.
Or maybe not all channelers, but just those that have a talent
For healing.
Because it's not necessarily trained skill. I mean, she has trained skill.
Right.
But she has natural talent towards healing. So I wonder if it's part of that. I don't know. I don't think I've ever caught that part before. And I caught it on this read-through, and I was like, that's different. Is that a thing?
Thanks for bringing it up, because I've read this so many times and I've just skipped right over it. Like, I do think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I really feel for Nynaeve here. Like she's watched all of the Two Rivers people grow up, and she's always been able to heal major sickness. But she can't help Matt this time.
Right.
And it's got to be so hard. Like she has no choice. As much as she hates it, she has to walk away and let Moraine handle what she cannot.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So that brings us to the end of chapter 41. Before we get to 42, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru is brought to you by Reading the Room. Are you met with stares and glares every time you open your mouth? Do you often find yourself surrounded by an angry group who wants to kick your ass? You should learn to read the room. Get a feel for how you're being received before violence ensues. Reading the Room. It really cuts down on running for your life.
Chapter 42 is called Remembrance of Dreams, and the icon is the two ravens.
Rand leads his friends to the library where they meet Loyal. Once Rand explains that he is an Ogier and not a Trolloc, they're happy to meet him and pepper him with questions. Perrin is especially interested in the steading. After a bit, Matt comes in with Moraine and Lan looking much better. He sheepishly explains that he doesn't really remember much after Whitebridge, but Moraine informed him that he'd been acting oddly. He stumbles through an awkward apology, and his friends tell them that they don't hold anything he said against him. Matt seemed to be back to his old self, but Rand is shocked to see that he still touches the dagger under his coat. Moraine explains that he has had the dagger for too long, and the bond is too complex. If she tried to separate him from the dagger, it would kill him. She cleansed him for the time being, but the evil will return until he is properly healed and separated from the dagger. He is beyond what one Aes Sedai can do alone, even aided by an Angreal, and they have to take him to Tar Valon to be healed. She has tried to contain the draw the dagger has on Shadowspawn, so Matt isn't quite as much of a beacon to them anymore. Loyal introduces himself, and Moraine politely tells him to exit stage left, until Rand tells her that he's already promised Loyal that he could come with them. She responds with, "The wheel weaves as the will wills," which is Moraine speak for "God damn it, Rand." She tells Lan to stand guard, and the library becomes the sit room as they recap their adventures and discuss their new plans. Between Elida and the White Cloaks in the city and the Myrddraal and Trollocs outside the city, they are SOL. Loyal asks Moraine about a man who came to the steading, saying, "The Dark One intended to blind the eye of the world and slay the great serpent, kill time itself." Loyal wants to know what that means and if that's possible. Perrin recounts the story Rain told him of the Ale saying the same thing. Perrin then realizes that Balzaman mentioned the Eye of the World in the shared dreams, and he forces Matt and Rand to admit to Moraine that they've been having nightmares. The three recount everything Balzaman told them up to this point. Moraine realizes that all three of them are Ta'veren, and that, despite her best efforts, the pattern is laying out a different path. She announces that they don't have time to go to Tar Valon anymore, but that they need to go to the Eye of the World and warn the Green Man. She asks Loyal if he knows anything about the ways so that they can travel quickly. Loyal is appalled and says that they can't do that because entering the ways leads to certain death. Dun, dun, dun!
I just want to say Perrin's eyes are awesome. He basically has wolf eyes that do that reflective thing that makes animals have demon eyes in the dark.
Yeah.
Like, the wolf power is just too cool.
It totally is.
Loyal reading on the couch with a cat curled up on his stomach is just so cute. Like,
You were really focused on the cats in this chapter.
yeah. I think it helps to cut the tension of this last chapter and probably adds to the confusion of the Edmundsfielders. Like a Trolloc-like creature just reading a book next to the fireplace, sitting on the couch, with a kitty curled up on his tummy. I mean, it's enough to make anyone stop short if you've never seen an Ogier before. Perrin is the first person to speak up and ask Lowell if the steading really are a safe haven like they've heard about in the stories. Perrin has actually been in a steading and experienced a lot of horrible things. I think he's looking for reassurance that this was not the norm. What do you think his motivation for asking was?
Honestly, I don't know. I would say that he would be hoping that the steading are a haven that he could, like, escape the wolves. But he already knows for a fact that that's not possible because
Right.
obviously the wolves were with him in the last steading he was in. So I don't know what he's hoping they're a haven from. Like, he doesn't channel, so that's not what he's running away from. And he knows for a fact that his main thing, the wolves, he can't get away from in the setting. So I don't really know what he's after.
Because I know the steading kept the ravens from following them.
Yes.
There was something about that kept the Dark One's eyes out. I'm just...
Oh, he's afraid... Well, okay. So he's afraid that the wolf thing might be from the Dark One, but then...
Oh, yeah.
That also doesn't make sense because, again, he knows for a fact that the wolves were with him in this setting. So, I don't know what he's after.
I'm just kind of confused about why this comes from Perrin.
I don't really know why it comes from Perrin, or if it really needed to come from Perrin, except that he and Egwene are the only ones who had actually been to a steading. I think Jordan was just kind of filling time until Matt came down.
Got it.
So I don't know that it has any special significance.
Well, that makes sense. These chapters are kind of an emotional roller coaster. Like, we're up and we're down. The group into the library, very worried about Matt, and then they meet Loyal and have a chat that kind of lightens the spirit a bit. And then Matt comes back, and he's looking better, and everybody's happy, but then the mood drops again when we find out that Matt is stuck with the dagger for now, and may still die. It's a lot for the characters to take in.
Mm-hmm. We find out that Loyal liked to talk and talk at length when he had the slightest chance, though he usually seemed to think a story needed 200 or 300 years of background to make it understood. It's very difficult for Loyal to get to the point, which we will see over and over again to Moiraine's annoyance.
Yeah.
So when Moiraine is explaining that Matt can't be separated from the dagger and needs to go to Tarvalon, she says that the healing, quote, is beyond me or any lone Aes Sedai, even with an Ongriel, end quote. I'm wondering if that would still be true if Nynaeve had been fully trained. So, like, just for funsies, do you think that, like, Book 14 Nynaeve could have healed Matt alone?
Yes, I do.
You do?
And
I do, too.
And to show my work on it,
Uh-oh.
it's because the kind of healing Nynaeve does later on in the series.
It's the new healing.
Is a revolutionary, like, it uses all of the different weaves that you can possibly use all at the same time, and no one's done that. Like, and that's one thing that Nynaeve breaks the tower of. It's like this regimented way of it's got to be done this way. It's like, no, it doesn't. So I really think that just like she's able to heal Stilling and other undoable
and the madness
things
and everything.
I think this is totally something that Book 14 Nynaeve would be like, yeah, I got this.
I agree. Like, I think she probably would have needed an Ongriel or something to help give her a boost.
Yeah.
But I think she totally could have done it by herself.
I'm with you.
Just, speculation.
So we have an exchange between Moiraine and Loyal where we get a clue that the Red Aja is not too friendly with the Ogier. This is because, after the breaking, the Ogier offered safe harbor to male channelers because they could not touch the source while they were in the steading. And it held off the madness.
Right.
Since the Red Soul mission is to track down and still male channelers, and the Ogier granted them sanctuary, there's just this little bit of animosity between the Reds that the Reds harbor for the Ogier.
Just a wee bit.
One of the things I love about this chapter is how Moiraine is just blindsided over and over again by how everything has managed to fall apart so fast.
Yeah.
Like, the hits just keep coming and coming, like ruining her plans and damaging her calm. We hardly ever see Moiraine off balance, but she is struggling to keep up here.
Yeah, she is. All right, so I don't love how info dumpy this section is. You're right when you say that it's all over the place emotionally. We're getting to the part of the book that's going to set up the entire ending. And unfortunately, high fantasy requires a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
So I understand why it's necessary, but I just don't like it. Like, knocking Moiraine off her stride with mentions of Elida and the boys finally confessing to the dreams and things like that is fun. You know, she's trying to figure out a puzzle as all the different pieces finally come together in one place, which I like. But for me, it wasn't quite enough to overcome the structural issues in this section with all this strange timing and recapping and exposition. And, like, it's not just this chapter. It's like what you were saying before about Matt's trying to actively kill Moraine, but we're going to sit around and talk about Trollocs for a minute while Lan is physically restraining him. Like, what? That's weird choicing for a writer to make. You know? I don't love the way these chapters shook out.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I absolutely get what you're saying, where it's like some of the stuff is not going to happen in real life.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important information for us to have. I just wish that he had taken a couple more passes over these two chapters and tightened them up a little bit. Because I don't think they're far off from being good, but there were just some really weird choices made that I think if he had tried a couple more passes would have gotten cleaned up, and then I wouldn't even noticed all the info dumping.
Moraine's advice to resist the Dark One by finding the strength of will and he will not be able to take you hold of you. It reminds me of the comments in one of our previous episodes, and I guess Two Rivers stubbornness really is his kryptonite.
Yeah, I guess so. So I feel like the theme for these chapters could be Moraine saying, "I told you so." Like, first, she warned the boys about not taking anything from Shadow Logoth, but Matt still ended up with the dagger. And then she told the boys to tell her if they had any weird dreams so that she could protect them, but they didn't.
Yep.
And I'm sure she wants to tell them, "Hey, y'all, in case you didn't notice, I'm Aes Sedai, and I know some things. Can you just trust me?" But no, they can't.
No, they can't.
I guess being secretive and mysterious is going to bite you in the ass every now and then, isn't it, Moraine? If she would just tell them what's happening, maybe they would trust her more. But I do feel bad because she's like, I told you this was going to happen. And look, it happened. Like, work with me, people.
Yeah. Like I said in previous episodes, like, first time through, I did not trust Moraine. I totally get why.
Yeah, she's sketchy.
She is. But seriously, with all the hindsight, like, you guys totally should have listened to Moraine the whole freaking time.
Yeah, like, I'm not 100% blaming them because it's her own fault for being so secretive. But at the same time, I mean, they're just a bunch of country bumpkins from Nowheresville, and she's Aes Sedai. Maybe they could have trusted her a little bit more.
Just a little bit. And we end with a great cliffhanger. Loyal says no to an Aes Sedai, and a tease about the ways being a very dangerous place to go. This is the start of the race to the end of the book, and things are gonna get crazy.
And how?
That ends chapters 41 and 42 of The Eye of the World. Join us next week for one of our rare 3-chapter episodes where we discuss all things that have to do with the ways.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure you rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Maybe leave us a positive review. It really does help us out. You can tweet us at WhatPodThru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com. And tell us your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.